What's up, guys? It's your boy Hokage Puya. And you guys, the first ever playoff games in Champions League history happened today. You had PSG playing Brest, obviously the big one, Real Madrid versus Manchester City, Juventus versus PSG, and Sporting. No, Juventus versus PSV and Sporting versus Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, Juventus get the narrow 2-1 win. It's going to be an interesting second leg against PSV next week. And Dortmund under Kovac get a huge 3-0 win away from home against Sporting. And they basically wrapped up that playoff tie and they're good to go for the round of 16. So we're not going to talk about those two games today. We're going to talk about the big boy game, Real Madrid and Manchester City, which was a horrible game. Both of these teams are absolute trash and either team is not going to win the Champions League. And we're going to talk about PSG because we're not going to talk about PSG in general if they can win the Champions League because PSG can't win the Champions League, and we'll get into that. We'll get into why. There's one big reason why, but we're going to talk about Dembele. We're going to talk about Dembele. Is Dembele finally unlocked after breaking onto the scene as a 16-year-old, 11 years later as a 27-year-old? Is Ousmane Dembele? I just farted. Anyway, I just farted. Is Ousmane Dembele finally unlocked? We're gonna talk about both of those things right now in this video, you guys. Champions League roundup. I'm happy the Champions League back. Champions League is just the best. Champions League makes me happy. The champions. That music, I can make love to that music, guys. It's really I live for this shit. I live for this shit. So you guys, Champions League roundup. Let's go. Real Madrid versus Manchester City. Let's talk about these two teams first. Let's talk about the game today. Obviously, Real Madrid, just like they somehow always seem to do against Manchester City, just getting the win against them. Away from home, winning 3-2. Jude Bellingham getting a basically last minute tap in to make it 3-2 and going back to the Santiago Bernabeu next week with a 3-2 lead. Huge for Real Madrid. Honestly, I heavily favor Real Madrid to get the job done and for them to go to the round of 16, and Manchester City will be getting knocked out in the playoffs, which would be extremely embarrassing. Yes, Manchester City has been horrible. Yes, they're playing Real Madrid, but it's still, for either team getting knocked out, it's an embarrassing situation. So yeah, Real Madrid get a 3-2 win. Either team today, in my opinion, both Real Madrid, both Manchester City, I was not impressed. So many deficiencies in both teams. Now, one team has an excuse. Real Madrid, these guys have an excuse because all of their center backs are injured. So Real Madrid has an excuse. Militao, Rudiger, Alaba, all unavailable. Dani Carvajal, still out injured. They have an excuse. Manchester City, they have zero injuries, barring Rodri. These guys have zero injuries. And the deficiencies I keep seeing in Manchester City, you guys, I understand Manchester City is trash. I understand that. They're not going to win the Premier League. I think they're not going to win any trophy this season. I understand that, right? But every time I just seem to watch Manchester City, it gets worse. I'm more shocked about how shaky they are. They're just shaky. They are a team that plays with zero confidence in defense, zero confidence, and even in attack, zero confidence. So very interesting at Manchester City. And for Real Madrid, let's talk about both teams. So Manchester City today, they get the lead. Haaland finally gets 2 goals against Real Madrid. First goals he's ever scored against Real Madrid. I have a feeling it has to do with the fact that Rudiger was not playing. Rudiger is going to be back for the next week's game, apparently. So Haaland, enjoy those 2 goals because Rudiger always gets the best of Erling Haaland in those center back striker battles. But Erling Haaland gets his goals, scores the first goal, a beautiful goal. Jack Grealish whips in a nice ball. Guardiola has perfect awareness to chest it down, and Erling Haaland puts the finish away 1-0. But at the beginning of the game, Real Madrid put a ton of pressure. You guys, within 15 minutes, Real Madrid should have had 2 goals. Real Madrid 100% should have been 2-0 up after 15 minutes. But hey, it's a Champions League. Even teams like Real Madrid do not put away their chances. After 15 minutes, Manchester City, from minute 15 to minute 38, completely dominate the game. And during that spell of domination, they get the goal, the Erling Haaland goal. But, before the half ends, they go into halftime at 1-0. But at the end of the first half, Real Madrid actually had a good 10-minute spell where they were just pressing Manchester City, and Mbappe ended up missing a huge chance. And they go to halftime at 1-0. I'm thinking, my honest thoughts at halftime of this game were that Manchester City, if they want to have more confidence going into the second leg. They cannot win this game at home by just one goal, whether it be the 1-0 scoreline, whether it be 2-1, 3-2. Manchester City has to at least come away from this game with a 2-goal lead over Real Madrid. For me, that's what I felt like Manchester City needed, because even if they had won the game today by a 1-goal deficit, I'm still heavily favoring Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, heavily favoring them in the return leg in the Bernabeu. So interesting. I thought, okay, interesting. Let's see what happens in the second half. Second half starts, and boom, Real Madrid is, on the front foot, and they eventually get their goal. They eventually get their. I'm forgetting who scored the first goal. You guys, it was such a mad game. I forgot who. I'm forgetting who scored the first goal, but they get the goal back. But then Manchester City come back. Yeah. Anyway, 2-2. 2-1. Erling Haaland gets the penalty. But at the end of the game, and this is the shocking thing from Manchester City. You guys, this is what I mean. As if, I understand Real Madrid got a huge win today, 3-2 away from home at the Etihad, which is a fortress in the Champions League. That is the first time Manchester City have lost at the Etihad in the Champions League for the first time in 8 years or something like that. A crazy stat. Crazy stat. But my issue is, why am I not going to praise Real Madrid? Because yes, Real Madrid was good. Yes, Real Madrid probably could have scored 5 or 6 goals today. But from the goals they did score, those last 2 goals, the Brahim Diaz goal, the Bellingham goal, they were gifted to them. They weren't because of any brilliant play from Real Madrid. It wasn't because they completely outclassed Manchester City on these goals. Manchester City just gifted Real Madrid these 2 goals. Just gifted it. The second goal Real Madrid scores, who knows what Ederson is doing? He chest saves it. It's mid-chest. Bro, you're a supposed world-class goalie. You should be able to boom, catch that, no issue. But he just lets it bounce off his chest, and it luckily falls to Brahim Diaz, who is following up on the shot in the middle of the box. He puts it away, 2-2. And you guys, at 2-2, I'm thinking, all right, 2-2, the game is going to wind now. They're going to hold the draw, and we're going to see what happens in the Bernabeu next week. However, the shithousery gets worse, you guys. The dog shit piles even higher. And Manchester City, sloppy play at the end of the game. Kovacic was a weak, sloppy shit pass to Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis, hesitant to the ball and too slow to get to it. Vini Jr. gets to the ball, gets in, plays Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham versus Ruben Diaz in a sprint. He barely beats Ruben Diaz. He taps the ball in, and it's 3-2 game over. Real Madrid win. So I'm not impressed. I'm really not impressed from both teams, because yes, there were some, 1 or 2 good goals today, 1 or 2 decent goals, right? But I'm honestly unimpressed by these 2 teams, because I look at Manchester City and I'm looking at a team with very little confidence going forward and 0 confidence in the back. The amount of misplaced passes as they pass out of the back from a Pep Guardiola team is genuinely shocking to me. So the guys Manchester City can't properly pass from the back, right? Their midfield is gone. Without Rodri, this midfield is washed. It's uninventive. It's slow. It's not physical. It's lethargic. It's trash. And I look at the attack, you guys, it's only Erling Haaland. And from the tactical point of view, I really think Pep Guardiola should have brought on Omar Mamouche a lot earlier, because Omar Mamouche would have been another threat running in behind, running at that Real Madrid defense to try and spread them wider and spread them open. But, Marmouche shouldn't come on till later in the game. So I'm looking at Manchester City, just top to bottom, poor. And I look at Real Madrid. Yes, they won 3-2 today. Yes, Vini Jr. got 2 assists and Bellingham got a goal, whatever. And Mbappe scored the first goal. I forgot. Mbappe scored the first goal with a miss kick. He literally mistimed the volley, and it still went in the goal. It was a very lucky goal from Mbappe. But I don't know how I forgot about that goal. But I'm looking at that Mbappe goal. I'm looking at the Brahim Diaz goal. I'm looking at the Vini Jr. goal. And they're just, the first goal for Mbappe, horrible marking. And the other 2 goals are just gifts from the football gods to Real Madrid. So you guys, honestly, with Real Madrid, the only thing I'll say about Real Madrid is, yes, I understand this is a struggling city with a backline that has never played with each other before, with Valverde, Tchouaméni, Asensio, and Mendy in the back four, they actually limited Manchester City's chances. Besides the two Erling Haaland goals and maybe like one or two other half chances they had, Man City didn't have an overwhelming amount of chances. So honestly, I'm impressed with Real Madrid's defense, but it's still not a trustworthy defense. That back line is not trustworthy. And with Rudiger coming back next week, who knows how much he's going to improve it? Because to be honest, guys, Rudiger, before he got injured, was having a pretty bad season as well. So I'm not sure how much Rudiger improves this defense, especially coming off of an injury. I'm really not sure. So I'm looking at these two teams. I'm looking at Real Madrid. I'm looking at Manchester City, and I'm just unimpressed. And say Manchester City go through, say Real Madrid go through, they will either play Leverkusen or Atletico Madrid. And to be honest, over two legs, looking at these two teams, I'm pretty comfortable saying that Real Madrid and Manchester City would not be favorites in either a game against Leverkusen or in a game against Atletico Madrid over two legs in the round of 16. I confidently say they wouldn't be the favorites. So, let's see what happens next week. Let's see what happens in the Bernabeu. If I'm going to be honest, it's 3-2 Manchester City. I can't see. I can't see how they're going to claw back from this because, yes, they're unimpressive. Yes, Real Madrid really, I just don't know the direction this team is going in at this point. But it's the Bernabeu in the Champions League in a return leg. If anything we know, this is Real Madrid when they're the most unbeatable. In a return leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, get the fuck out of here. Manchester City, this isn't some treble-winning Manchester City quality. This is the worst Manchester City team in the Pep Guardiola era. This really is the worst Manchester City team in the Pep Guardiola era. It's awful. So I don't see Manchester City coming back. If I'm looking at that return leg, I think Real Madrid is probably going to win what? I could definitely see like a 3-1 scoreline, 6-3 aggregate score, which would be so just shocking. But we're going to have to wait and see. I won't fully count out Pep. If I'm Pep Guardiola, I'm looking at that second leg, right? And I'm thinking, all right, this weekend in the Premier League, I'm going to start Marmoush. I'm going to start Kusanov. For that tie, you want to start Kusanov. You want to start Marmoush. You want to start Foden. Grealish is going to be out injured or sick, whatever happened to him. Play all your attacking players, get a decent balance in the midfield, and pray your defense doesn't show up with half their brains missing. That's all you can do. So if I'm giving a percentage odds, Real Madrid is probably 75% favorites to go through at this point. It's very low odds for Manchester City going to that return like at the Bernabeu, 1 goal down. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm just not impressed with both Real Madrid and Manchester City. Jude Bellingham, people are saying he had a decent game today. I didn't think so. He was all right. I mean, it's against such a awful Manchester City midfield, such a struggling Manchester City defense, the likes of Jude Bellingham, Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo. I expected way more. I know Vinny Jr. got the man of the match, but he really wasn't that amazing. He really wasn't that stellar. So that just shows you how bad that Manchester City team is. Because if these guys were to actually show up at full power, playing at their best, these attackers, Manchester City can easily hold 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals to these dudes. So that's why the second leg is going to be interesting. Will these Real Madrid attackers show up in their best form? We'll see. Will Pep Guardiola play really defensive and try to counter these guys? Give them a different look, Manchester City? I don't know. So the second leg is still interesting, but I have 75% odds that Real Madrid will go through to the round of 16. Now, PSG. So PSG get the 3-0 win against Brest today. That tie is completely done now too. PSG going back to their home in the second leg next week against Brest. No way back for Brest. And to be honest, guys, I'm impressed with PSG. The last month and a half, I'm very impressed with PSG. Now, I'll talk a little bit about PSG before we get to Dembele. It's hard for me to judge PSG right now because here's the difficult thing. I understand they are playing very well the last month and a half. I understand they're still undefeated in Ligue 1. In the McDonald's League, they haven't lost. They are miles better than everyone in that league when it comes to the league format. The issue with PSG is I have to look at their Champions League campaign as a whole. In Ligue 1, the competition is low. There isn't a team that even gets close in terms of quality and consistency to PSG this year. So PSG, they really have no challenge in League One. In the league, there's really no challenge. So the only challenges PSG has been getting this season is in the Champions League. And so far in the Champions League, they've played Arsenal, right? They've played Bayern, and against those teams, against Bayern, against Arsenal, they got absolutely shut down. They got absolutely wiped. They had almost zero chances in those games. They were extremely unimpressive. But the thing is, this is why you can't judge too much on the past, in my opinion, because teams can grow into the season. And within the last month and a half, what if there's just something, a new team spirit, something unlocked in this team, and understanding that's been achieved, and PSG has gone to the next level? We have to see, because they're playing fantastic football. They're playing fantastic football. Everyone is on form for them. But I look back previously in their season, and actually, wait, let me double check. I think PSG actually even played Inter in the league phase, if I'm remembering correctly. They lost to Bayern, they lost to Atleti, they lost to Arsenal. Yeah, so they lost to Arsenal, Atleti, and Bayern. 3 huge games they lost. And, this was just earlier in the season, 3 months ago. So I'm not sure what to take from PSG, because yes, I understand they beat Manchester City 4-2, but at this point, if a team beats Manchester City this season, I don't think that's impressive. I really don't think that's impressive. I'm not putting too much stock into that 4-2 win that they had at home against Manchester City, because that's how bad Manchester City has been. That's how bad they have been, right? So PSG, interesting. Let's see. The difficult thing for PSG, and why I will tell you right now that PSG will not win the Champions League, is that even if they get through this playoff, right, which they will, PSG is either going to face Liverpool or Barcelona. They're playing either the first or second favorites for the freaking tournament right away in the round of 16. And to be honest, when I'm looking at those matchups, I think PSG lose both of those across both legs. The Barca game is tricky. The high line against this new reformed PSG attack, that's interesting. Against Liverpool, they're 100% losing. 100% Liverpool's beating them. Barcelona, I'm pretty sure they will beat them. So they're playing well now. But unfortunately for them, because they were so bad earlier in the season and they finished so low in the league phase, they now, after the playoffs, have to play either Liverpool or Barcelona. Now, if PSG beat either Liverpool or Barcelona to get to the quarterfinal, then I will sit here and tell you PSG is one of the favorites for the Champions League, without a doubt. But that's why I'm going to keep my expectations low for PSG. Let them build in silence. Let them move in silence, because yes, they're playing well right now. Yes, they're going to win the league. Yes, they just smashed Brest. They're going to go to the round of 16. But in the round of 16, they're going to play either Barcelona or Liverpool. So don't get your hopes up. If you're a PSG fan, stay humble and hope for the best. But why is PSG playing so well? Why have they been such an attacking force the last month and a half? Why have they been one of the most impressive teams the last 6-7 weeks in Europe? Well, the defense has been great, right? João Neves, Vitinha have been playing great football. Barcola, Desiree Doué is finally finding his feet at PSG after a rough start, right? But there's a key player here. It's Ousmane Dembele. And the form Ousmane Dembele has been in is disgusting. His last 4 games, Dembele has 2 hat-tricks and 2 braces. He has 10 goals in 4 games. In 2025 alone, since the start of this year, he has 15, 16 goals or something like that. Messi, Ronaldo, those are better than Messi, Ronaldo's peak numbers at the beginning of the calendar year. So Ousmane Dembele, is he unlocked? I don't know. Is this just an insane run of form? Because I think he has, guys. I think he has like 20 goals or something like that in his last 10 games. I think it's something like 20 goals and assists in his last 10 games for PSG. Genuinely. Or 10, 11 games for PSG. So is he unlocked? I don't know. He's 27. Statistically, he could be hitting his physical prime. He could be hitting his true prime, and he's just a late bloomer, right? Right? Not everyone can be Lamine Yamal, right? Not everyone can be that. Not everyone, you know what I mean? So maybe he's finally hitting his true form. I don't know. But from what I'm seeing with Dembele, he's thinking, he's playing with a brain. There's purpose to his play. And finally, when he gets chances, he's putting every single chance away. Yes, he still missed the odd chance here or there, but he is putting away 90% of his chances. And you're seeing now that his general play, he gets into dangerous positions. And now that he's putting away the chances, the numbers reflect how good of a player Ousmane Dembele really is. This is the form I expected Ousmane Dembele to play at 10 years ago when he moved to Dortmund under Thomas Tuchel with Christian Pulisic at the club during those days. This is what I expected Dembele would become. Now it's only been 6 or 7 weeks of 6 weeks of amazing form from Dembele. So that's what I'm going to say. Is he unlocked? I'm not sure. Is this just a good spell of form? I'm not sure. Because if you remember at Barcelona, Ousmane Dembele, I think it was the league title winning season, right? The league title winning season with Barcelona or whenever it was. Ousmane Dembele had a amazing second half of the season. I'm forgetting which season it was, but he had an amazing second half of the season one year. He was assisting every game. His crosses were lethal. He was dribbling everyone, but he went right back down and fell off a cliff the next season. So I don't know. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from Dembele. Is he unlocked? I don't want to get my hopes up because this is an exciting player, guys. If Ousmane Dembele is finally going to reach his potential, this is a Ballon d'Or caliber player. The issue with him, though, is that the last 10 years, whenever we as football fans get our hopes up that Dembele is finally arriving, finally reaching his potential, he has 99% of the time let us down. So that's why I'm hesitant, but I'm very impressed with Ousmane Dembele the last 6 weeks. Very, very impressed with him. And to be honest, guys, in this calendar year, the last 6 weeks, there hasn't been a better player in Europe than him. Mo Salah has not been as good. Lamine Yamal hasn't. Rafinha hasn't. Musiala, Verts, Bellingham, Vinny. All those top players. All the top attackers. Dembele in big 2025, guys, Ousmane Dembele is the most on-form attacker, the most lethal winger, the most lethal finisher in Europe right now. So exciting times because you guys, I'm a Bayern fan. I'm not a PSG fan. I'm not here to glaze PSG, glaze Dembele just because I'm like a fan of PSG. I'm not a fan of PSG. I'm a fan of Bayern, the second biggest club in football history, the Red Bulls of Europe, right? But seeing a player that I was excited for in high school, in middle school 10 years ago, finally reaching the heights I always wanted him to, it's exciting. And I'm excited to see what Dembele does, you guys, because if he keeps playing like this, if PSG keep playing like this, and in a month's time they play Barcelona or Liverpool, and they're maybe in a dip of form, PSG can surprise a lot of people in this Champions League. So watch out for them. Watch out for them. And Dembele, I'm not going to get my hopes up, bro. You guys, it's been your boy Hokage Puya. Real Madrid, Manchester City, they suck. I can't take them seriously right now. I seriously can't take them seriously. I understand the Real Madrid Champions League heritage. I will always respect the Real Madrid Champions League heritage. But there's too many deficiencies in that team. Manchester City, top to bottom, have 1,000 issues. And Ousmane Dembele, you better not blue balls me this time because I am excited for the football that you can potentially give to us for the rest of the season. You guys, it's been your boy Hokage Puya. This has been another Champions League roundup. Subscribe, like. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's Champions League roundup. Bayern versus Celtic. I'll also have the post-match for Bayern versus Celtic up after the game. You guys, it's been your boy Hokage. See you guys in the next one. Peace. And I fucked up the ending.